The stars shone like diamonds against the black void of space as the Earth Alliance starship Intrepid moved silently through the Epsilon Eridani system. Commander Alan Pierce sat in the captain's chair, his eyes fixed on the main view screen. He had been in command of the Intrepid for 3 years now, but the wonder of exploring new star systems never faded. "Status report," Pierce said, his voice calm and steady. Lieutenant Nancy Ford, the ship's navigator, turned from her console. "We're approaching the third planet, sir. Standard orbit in 5 minutes." Pierce nodded and pressed a button on his chair. "Dr. Grant, please report to the bridge." Dr. Olivia Grant was the Intrepid's lead scientist, a brilliant woman with a keen mind and endless curiosity. She arrived on the bridge moments later, her red hair tied back in a practical ponytail. "What do we have, Captain?" she asked. Moving to the science station, Pierce gestured toward the planet growing larger on the view screen. "Third planet in the system. Initial scans show an atmosphere similar to Earth's, but no signs of advanced life." Dr. Grant began working, at her console, her fingers dancing across the controls. The bridge crew waited quietly as she analyzed the incoming data. Suddenly, she straightened up. "Captain, I'm detecting unusual energy readings from the northern hemisphere of the planet," she said, her voice rising with excitement. "It doesn't match any natural phenomenon I've ever seen." Pierce leaned forward in his chair. "Could it be artificial?" "I believe so," Grant replied. "The energy signature is too regular, too controlled to be natural." Lieutenant Gregory Walsh, the ship's security officer, frowned from his station. "Could be a trap, sir. We should approach with caution." Pierce considered this. Walsh was always cautious, which made him excellent at his job. But the Intrepid's mission was to explore, to make new discoveries. They couldn't turn back at the first sign of something unusual. "Prepare a landing party," Pierce decided. "Dr. Grant, Lieutenant Walsh, and Communications Specialist Rodriguez will accompany me to the surface." Walsh didn't look happy, but he nodded and left to prepare the necessary equipment. An hour later, the away team stood on the surface of the alien world. The sky was a pale orange, and 2 small moons were visible despite the daylight. The air was breathable but had a slight metallic taste. "The energy readings are coming from that direction," Dr. Grant said, pointing toward a range of low hills, about 1 kilometer away. "And they're getting stronger." The team made their way across the rocky terrain. As they approached the hills, Pierce noticed something odd about their shape. They were too regular, too symmetrical. "Those aren't natural formations," he said. Maria Rodriguez, the communications specialist, nodded in agreement. "They look like they were built or at least shaped deliberately." When they reached the base of the nearest hill, Dr. Grant's scanner began beeping rapidly. "The energy source is directly below us," she said. "There must be an entrance somewhere." They spread out, searching the hillside. It was Walsh who found it, a perfectly smooth section of rock that didn't match the surrounding area. "Over here," he called. "This doesn't look natural." As the team gathered around, Dr. Grant ran her scanner over the smooth surface. "There's definitely a hollow space behind this," she confirmed, "but I don't see any way to open it." Pierce examined the rock face carefully. Near the center, he noticed a slight depression. Acting on instinct, he placed his hand against it. The ground trembled beneath their feet, and the rock face slid aside with a low rumble, revealing a dark passageway that led deep into the hill. "That was too easy," Walsh said, his hand moving to his sidearm. "Captain, I strongly advise against entering an unknown alien structure without proper backup." Pierce understood Walsh's concern, but the discovery was too important to delay. "We'll proceed with caution," he said firmly. "Walsh, you take point. Dr. Grant, stay in the middle with your scanner. Rodriguez and I will bring up the rear." The passageway was dark, but their flashlights revealed smooth metallic walls covered in strange symbols. The air grew cooler as they descended deeper into the structure. "These markings," Dr. Grant said, running her hand along one wall, "they're not just decorative, I think they're writing of some kind." Rodriguez examined the symbols closely. "I've never seen anything like this. The patterns repeat, though." Definitely a language. After walking for about 10 minutes, they emerged into a vast chamber. Their flashlights couldn't reach the ceiling or the far walls. The floor was made of the same metallic material as the passageway, but it glowed with a faint blue light. "This is incredible," Dr. Grant whispered, her voice filled with awe. "This facility must be ancient, but it still has power." In the center of the chamber stood a raised platform with what looked like a control console. Strange devices lined the walls, their purpose unknown. "This must be some kind of monitoring station," Pierce guessed, looking around. But monitoring what? And built by whom? Dr. Grant approached the central console carefully, her scanner held out in front of her. "The energy readings are coming. From this," she said. "It's in some kind of standby mode, but it's still active." Walsh moved between Grant and the console. "Dr. Grant, I don't think you should touch anything until we know what it does." "I'm just going to scan it," she assured him. "I won't." But as she leaned forward to get a better reading, her elbow brushed against the console surface. Instantly, the entire chamber blazed with light. The console came to life, displays flickering with alien symbols. "What did you do?" Walsh demanded, raising his weapon. "Nothing. I barely touched it." Grant backed away from the console. A low hum filled the chamber, growing louder by the second. The floor beneath them began to vibrate. "I think we should leave," Rodriguez suggested, her eyes wide with fear. Pierce nodded quickly. "Everyone out. Now." They ran back the way they had come, the humming sound pursuing them through the passageway. As they emerged onto the planet's surface, Pierce contacted the Intrepid. "Emergency beam out now," he ordered. Moments later, they materialized in the Intrepid's transporter room. Pierce wasted no time. "Bridge," he snapped as they hurried to the turbolift. When they arrived on the bridge, the situation had already changed dramatically. "Captain," Lieutenant Ford said, her face pale. "Something's happening on the planet. We're detecting a massive energy surge from the site you just left." On the view screen, they could see a beam of brilliant blue light shooting up from the planet's surface into space. "It's some kind of signal," Dr. Grant said, checking her instruments. "Broadcasting on multiple frequencies. Incredibly powerful. It could reach across the entire sector." "Captain," Ford's voice was urgent now. "Long-range sensors are detecting multiple objects approaching at high speed from the edge of the system." Pierce's stomach tightened. "Show me." The view screen changed to show several small, fast-moving objects heading directly toward the Intrepid. "Time to intercept?" Pierce asked. 3 minutes, Ford replied. Walsh moved to the tactical station, raising shields, weapons online. The bridge crew watched as the unknown objects grew closer. They were sleek, black vessels, shaped like arrowheads. No visible engines, no obvious weapons. "Hail them," Pierce ordered. Rodriguez tried to establish communication but shook her head. "No response, sir." 2 minutes to intercept, Ford announced. Dr. Grant studied the approaching vessels on her console. "They're unmanned, Captain. Drones of some kind." 1 minute. Pierce made his decision. "Lieutenant Ford, prepare to withdraw from the system. Maximum warp." Before Ford could respond, the lead drone fired. A beam of energy, similar in color to the light from the planet, struck the Intrepid. The ship rocked violently. Consoles exploded in showers of sparks. Crew members were thrown from their seats. "Direct hit," Walsh shouted over the noise of alarms. "Shields at 60%. "Return fire," Pierce ordered. The Intrepid's phasers lashed out, striking the lead drone. It exploded into fragments, but the others kept coming. Engines hit. Ford reported, "Warp drive offline." Another blast rocked the ship. Shields failing, Pierce gripped the arms of his chair. "Evasive maneuvers. Get us out of here, impulse power." The Intrepid turned away from the planet, limping toward the safety of open space as the drones continued their relentless attack. "Captain," Rodriguez called out, "I'm receiving a transmission. I think it's from the planet." "Let's hear it," Pierce said. A series of harsh metallic sounds filled the bridge. Not words, not music, something entirely alien. Can you translate it? Pierce asked. Rodriguez worked frantically at her console. I'll try, but it will take time. As the Intrepid fled the system, barely staying ahead of the pursuing drones, Pierce knew that they had stumbled upon something ancient and powerful, something that had been waiting perhaps for thousands of years. And now, because of them, it was awake. Send a priority message to Earth, he told Rodriguez. Tell Admiral Carter that we've made contact with an unknown alien intelligence and that it's hostile. 6 months had passed since the Intrepid's disastrous encounter in the Epsilon Eridani system. Earth was no longer the same. Admiral Frank Carter stood by the large window in his office at Earth Alliance headquarters in Geneva. Outside, the sky was filled with the shapes of warships under construction. Where once civilian transports and science vessels had dominated Earth's orbital shipyards, now military craft were being built at an unprecedented rate. A soft chime announced a visitor. Enter, Carter said, without turning from the window. Doctor. Olivia Grant walked in, looking tired. Dark circles had formed under her eyes, and her red hair was messier than usual. She carried a tablet computer in her hands. You wanted to see me, Admiral? She asked. Carter turned and gestured to a chair. Please sit down. How is your work progressing? Grant sat and placed the tablet on the desk between them. Slowly. The alien language is unlike anything we've encountered before, but we're making progress. After the Intrepid had limped back to Earth, Grant had been put in charge of a special team. Their mission, to understand the alien technology and language found in the monitoring station. The future of humanity might depend on their success. Show me what you have, Carter said. Grant activated the tablet. Strange symbols appeared on the screen along with their possible meanings. We believe they call themselves the Archons, she explained. From what we can translate, they were an ancient race that once controlled large parts of the galaxy. Carter studied the symbols with a frown. And the Black Armada? It seems to be some kind of automated defense system. The Archons created it to protect their territory while they... Grant paused, searching for the right words. While they what? Carter prompted. While they slept, Grant said simply. We think they entered some kind of suspended animation, leaving the Armada to guard their space. Carter's frown deepened. So we woke up their guard dog. Essentially, yes, Grant agreed. And it's programmed to attack any civilization that develops beyond certain boundaries. The Archons apparently considered all space to be rightfully theirs. A knock on the door interrupted them. A young officer entered and saluted. Sir, Kevin Miller has arrived for his appointment. Carter nodded. Send him in. Kevin Miller was not what most people expected of a brilliant engineer. Only 28 years old, he looked even younger with his boyish face and nervous smile. But his mind was exceptional. Admiral Carter, Dr. Grant. He greeted them with a slight bow. I have news about the SHIELD project. After the attack on the Intrepid, debris from destroyed alien drones had been recovered. Miller had been assigned to study their technology and find ways to defend against it. Good news, I hope, Carter said. Miller's face brightened. Very good news, sir. We've successfully adapted the alien energy patterns into our shield systems. In tests, the new shields blocked 87% of energy weapons similar to those used by the drones. For the first time in months, Carter felt a spark of hope. How soon can we begin installing these shields on our ships? The prototype is ready now, Miller replied. With your approval, we can begin retrofitting the fleet immediately. Carter made his decision quickly. Do it. And Miller, I'm putting you in charge of the project. Whatever resources you need, they're yours. Miller looked surprised but pleased. Thank you, sir. I won't let you down. Their meeting was interrupted by an urgent call. Carter pressed a button on his desk, and the serious face of Commander Paula Evans appeared on the screen. Admiral, we've detected unknown objects entering the solar system, she reported. They've bypassed all our early warning stations somehow. Carter straightened. Hostile? Unknown, sir. They're small, possibly probes. They don't match the drone signatures from the Epsilon Eridani incident. Track them, Carter ordered. but do not engage unless they show hostile intent. Yes, sir, Evans replied before the screen went dark. Carter turned to Grant and Miller. It looks like we may not have as much time as we hoped. Both of you double your efforts. Humanity's survival may depend on what you discover. Over the next few weeks, the situation grew more tense. The strange, probe-like objects appeared all over the solar system, scanning Earth's cities, military bases, and space stations. Whenever ships approached them, the probes would self-destruct, leaving no technology to study. People on Earth became afraid. News of the alien threat had spread, and many feared an attack was coming. Some, like Laura Bennett, a university professor from Boston, started calling for peace instead of military preparation. We should be trying to communicate with them, not building weapons, Bennett told a crowd of supporters in a park near the Earth Alliance headquarters. Violence will only bring more violence. Her peace movement grew larger each day, creating division among Earth's population. Some believed in preparation for war, others in seeking peaceful contact. Meanwhile, Dr. Grant worked day and night with her team. One evening, as she studied the alien symbols for the 1,000th time, something clicked in her mind. "That's it," she exclaimed, startling her assistant who had been dozing nearby. Grant rushed to Admiral Carter's office, not caring that it was past midnight. "I've figured it out," she said breathlessly when Carter, looking tired and rumpled, let her in. "The Archons have a hierarchy, a strict system of rules. They believe they are the rightful rulers of all space, and they programmed the Black Armada to eliminate any civilization that develops beyond their allowed boundaries." Carter processed this information. "So there's no chance for peace? No way to negotiate?" Grant hesitated. "I'm not sure. The Armada seems to be automated, programmed with simple rules. If the actual Archons were awakened, perhaps they might be reasoned with. But the Armada itself..." She shook her head. "I don't think it's capable of changing its programming." 3 days later, Kevin Miller's shield technology was installed on 50% of Earth's fleet. It wasn't a moment too soon. "Admiral!" Commander Evans' voice was urgent over the communication system. "Long-range sensors have detected a massive fleet entering the solar system, at least 500 vessels, maybe more." Carter felt a chill run down his spine. "Configuration? They match the design of the drones that attacked the Intrepid, but much larger. This isn't a scouting force, sir. This is an invasion fleet." Carter called an emergency meeting of the Earth Alliance Security Council. Representatives from all nations gathered to hear the news and decide humanity's response. "The alien fleet will reach Earth in approximately 5 days, Carter informed them. "Based on Dr. Grant's research, we believe they intend to eliminate our civilization." The council chamber erupted in voices, some calling for immediate surrender to save lives, others demanding to fight to the last person. Laura Bennett was invited to speak as the representative of the peace movement. "We should send a message of peace," she urged. "Show them we are not a threat. Perhaps they will spare us if we agree to limit our development." Admiral Carter responded with a grim face. "According to Dr. Grant's research, the Black Armada doesn't negotiate. It follows its programming without question, and that programming says we must be eliminated because we've expanded beyond our allowed space." The debate continued for hours. Finally, the council president called for a vote. The result was clear. Earth would not surrender. As the massive alien fleet moved closer to Earth, Admiral Carter prepared to broadcast humanity's response. His message was simple but firm. "We have received your demand for surrender. We have discussed it among all nations of Earth and reached a decision. We will not surrender our freedom. We choose to fight." With those words, humanity declared war on the Black Armada. The skies above Neptune turned black with enemy ships. The research stations orbiting the distant blue planet had only minutes to prepare before the attack began. "All personnel to emergency shelters," Dr. Sam Nelson shouted as warning lights flashed throughout Neptune Station Alpha. "This is not a drill." Scientists and support staff rushed through the corridors, fear evident on their faces. They had known this day might come, but nothing could truly prepare them for the reality of alien invasion. From his command center, Nelson watched as the first wave of the Black Armada approached. The alien vessels were sleek and dark, shaped like arrowheads. They moved with unnatural precision, spreading out to surround the station. "Any response from Earth?" Nelson asked his communications officer. "No, sir. The enemy is jamming all signals." Nelson nodded grimly. They were on their own. The first shots came without warning. Beams of blue energy sliced through space, striking. The station's hastily erected shields. The entire structure shuddered. "Shields down to 60%, someone called out. Nelson knew they couldn't win this fight. The station wasn't built for combat. Their only hope was to delay the enemy long enough for the evacuation pods to launch. "Begin evacuation sequence," he ordered. "Get as many people out as possible." As the battle for Neptune's outposts began, the main Earth fleet gathered near. Mars Admiral Carter stood on the bridge of his flagship, the EA Defender, watching the tactical displays with a grim expression. "Neptune's stations have gone silent," reported his second-in-command. "Titan mining operations are under attack now." Carter had expected this. The Black Armada was methodical, eliminating humanity's outer defenses before moving inward toward Earth. It was a sound strategy, but it also gave Earth precious time to complete its preparations. "Status of Captain Wright and the Defiant?" Carter asked. "In position, Admiral. Waiting for your orders." Carter nodded. "Tell her to proceed with Operation Spearhead." Captain Eleanor Wright was one of Earth's finest space commanders. Young and bold, she had been chosen to lead a dangerous counterattack using Kevin Miller's new shield technology. Aboard the EA Defiant, Wright addressed her crew. "I won't lie to you. This mission is incredibly dangerous. We're going to strike directly at the enemy's flank while they're focused on Titan. Our new shields should give us an advantage, but we're still outnumbered." She looked at the determined faces around her. "If anyone wants to transfer off this mission, now is the time. No one will think less of you." Not a single crew member moved. Wright smiled. "Then let's show these aliens what humans are made of." The Defiant, accompanied by 5 smaller ships, moved silently toward the battle at Titan. The Black Armada had surrounded the mining colonies, methodically destroying one facility after another. "Enemy ships detected," reported the Defiant's sensor officer. 23 vessels concentrated around the main mining complex. Wright studied the tactical display. "They're not expecting an attack from this direction. Target the 3 ships at the edge of their formation. Fire when ready." The Defiant's weapons blazed to life. Beams of energy struck the alien vessels, catching them completely by surprise. 2 exploded immediately while the third spun out of control. "Direct hits," the weapons officer shouted, unable to contain his excitement. "Don't celebrate yet," Wright cautioned. "Now they know we're here." The remaining alien ships turned toward the Defiant and her escort vessels. Blue energy beams shot through space. "Brace for impact," Wright called. The beams struck the Defiant's new shields. The ship shuddered, but the shields held. "Shields at 82%, reported the engineering officer with amazement. "Miller's technology works." Wright allowed herself a brief smile. "Continue the attack. Target their weapons systems." For the next hour, the battle raged around Titan. The Defiant and her escorts destroyed 7 more enemy vessels while losing only one of their own. It wasn't a major victory in the grand scheme of the war, but it was something humanity desperately needed, proof that they could fight back. When the Defiant returned to Mars, Admiral Carter personally greeted Captain Wright. "Excellent work, Captain," he said. "You've given the entire fleet a morale boost." Wright accepted the praise with a nod. "Thank you, sir, but the Armada is adapting already. By the end of the battle, they were changing their attack patterns to compensate for our shields." Carter wasn't surprised. "The enemy learns quickly. We need to stay one step ahead." On Earth, Dr. Grant made another breakthrough. Working with Kevin Miller, she discovered that the alien technology responded to specific electromagnetic frequencies. "Look at this," she said, showing Miller a simulation on her computer. "When we broadcast this frequency, the alien systems show a momentary pause like they're recalibrating." Miller studied the data. "We could use this to create a disruptor. It wouldn't destroy their ships, but it might disable them temporarily." Exactly, Grant said excitedly. Even a few seconds of disruption could give our ships a critical advantage. They worked day and night to develop the disruptor technology. When it was ready, Admiral Carter ordered it distributed to every ship in the fleet. We can't match them in numbers or firepower, he told his commanders. So we'll fight smarter. Hit and run attacks. Use the disruptors to create openings. Then, strike hard and withdraw before they can recover. This guerrilla warfare strategy proved effective. Human ships would appear from hiding places in asteroid fields or behind moons, disable several enemy vessels with the disruptors, attack, and then disappear before reinforcements arrived. But despite these small victories, the Black Armada continued its relentless advance toward Earth. One by one, humanity's outer colonies and stations fell. Maria Rodriguez, now promoted to Communications Director for the Earth Alliance, worked tirelessly to intercept and decode the Armada's transmissions. One night, she made an important discovery. "Admiral," she said, rushing into Carter's office without ceremony, "I've decoded more of their communications. The Armada operates on a hive mind system. All major decisions require consensus from multiple command nodes." Carter immediately saw the significance. So they need to communicate with each other before changing strategies. That gives us time between their adaptations. Rodriguez nodded. Exactly. And I've identified at least 3 separate command nodes within their fleet. If we could destroy even one, it would throw their entire operation into confusion. Carter finished. Excellent work, Director Rodriguez. This information proved vital in the following weeks. Earth forces began targeting the command nodes whenever they could be identified, forcing the Armada to constantly reorganize its command structure. Then came the attack on Mars. The Red Planet had become humanity's main defensive position outside Earth. Military bases dotted its surface and a fleet of ships orbited above. Everyone knew Mars would be the Armada's next major target. Colonel Joseph Scott commanded the Mars Defense Forces. A veteran of many battles on Earth, Scott had a reputation for coolness under pressure and innovative tactics. "They'll come in force," he told his officers during their final briefing. "Probably from multiple directions at once. We can't match them ship for ship, so we'll use the disruptor technology to maximum effect." The attack came at dawn, Earth time. Over 100 alien ships appeared around Mars, twice as many as Earth had defending the planet. Scott deployed his forces carefully. Small, fast ships darted forward, using the disruptors to create gaps in the alien formation. Larger vessels followed, concentrating their fire on the disabled enemy ships. For 3 days, the battle raged. Mars bases launched fighters that swarmed around the larger alien vessels like angry bees. Ground-based weapons fired constantly, filling the Martian sky with beams of energy. The human forces suffered heavy losses. By the 3rd day, half of Scott's ships had been destroyed or damaged beyond repair. But they had also inflicted significant damage on the Armada, destroying nearly 30 enemy vessels. On the final day, Scott recognized a pattern in the enemy's movements. One particularly large ship seemed to be coordinating the others, a command node. "That's our target," he told his remaining captains. "If we can destroy that ship, they'll have to retreat and reorganize." But the command ship was heavily defended, surrounded by a screen of smaller vessels. A frontal assault would be suicide. Scott made a decision. "I'll take a small team on the assault shuttle. We'll use the planet's dust storms as cover and approach from below their sensor range." His officers protested, but Scott was determined. "This may be our only chance to save Mars," he said simply. The small assault shuttle, carrying Scott and 5 volunteers, slipped away from the main battle. Using Mars's frequent dust storms as cover, they approached the enemy command ship undetected. "Disruptors at full power," Scott ordered as they came within range. "Fire!" The electromagnetic pulse hit the command ship, causing it to drift momentarily as its systems reset. Scott didn't waste the opportunity. "All weapons fire!" Then ramming speed, the shuttle's weapons struck the disabled ship, damaging its outer hull. Then, in a final act of sacrifice, Scott drove the shuttle directly into the damage area. The resulting explosion tore through the command ship, setting off a chain reaction that destroyed it completely. The victory at Mars bought humanity precious time, but Admiral Carter knew it wouldn't last. The Black Armada was regrouping, bringing in reinforcements from deeper space. Earth's forces had fought bravely, but they couldn't win a war of attrition against such a vast enemy. In his command center beneath Geneva, Carter met with his most trusted advisors. Captain Alan Pierce, now recovered from his injuries during the Intrepid's first encounter, stood beside Dr. Olivia Grant. Kevin Miller and Maria Rodriguez completed the small group. "We need a new strategy," Carter said simply. "We can't defeat the entire Armada ship by ship." Pierce nodded in agreement. "The intelligence we've gathered suggests that the Archons themselves remain in suspended animation somewhere. The Armada is just their automated defense system, like guard dogs left to watch the house while the owners are away," Miller added. Dr. Grant opened her tablet and displayed a star chart. "Based on the communication patterns we've intercepted, we believe the Archons are located here." She pointed to a distant star system marked with a red circle, a place their transmissions refer to as the Nexus. Carter studied the location. "That's deep in enemy-controlled space. Getting there would be nearly impossible." "Not impossible," Pierce said. "Just very, very difficult." For the next hour, they discussed a daring plan. The Intrepid, rebuilt with reverse-engineered Archon technology, would attempt to reach the Nexus, their mission, to awaken the Archons and convince them to call off the Black Armada. "It's a long shot," Carter admitted. "But right now, long shots are all we have." While preparations for the mission began, the main Armada regrouped. Their attack on Earth was only days away. Captain Eleanor Wright, now commanding Earth's primary defense fleet, positioned her ships in a defensive formation around the planet. Every available vessel had been equipped with Miller's shield technology and Grant's disruptors. "We can't stop them all," Wright told her officers, "but we can make them pay dearly for every inch of space." As the defense of Earth took shape, Pierce prepared the Intrepid for its desperate mission. Dr. Grant would accompany him to translate any Archon communications. Lieutenant Walsh, the security officer from the original mission, volunteered to lead the ground team. Kevin Miller joined them to handle any technical challenges they might face. The night before their departure, Pierce couldn't sleep. He stood in the Intrepid's observation lounge, watching as workers made final adjustments to the ship's exterior. "Nervous?" a voice asked from behind him. Pierce turned to see Dr. Grant standing in the doorway. "Realistic," he replied. "The chances of this mission succeeding are—" "I know the odds," she said, joining him at the window. "But sometimes, against all probability, the impossible happens." Pierce smiled faintly. "Let's hope this is one of those times." The Intrepid departed Earth the next morning, using a stealth system developed from captured Armada technology. As they slipped past the outer planets, they could see enemy ships gathering for the final assault on humanity's homeworld. "They're not even trying to hide their numbers anymore," Walsh commented grimly as they observed the massive fleet. "They don't need to," Pierce replied. "They believe victory is assured. The journey to the Nexus would take 5 days at maximum speed. For the first 3 days, they traveled without incident, keeping their stealth systems active at all times. On the 4th day, they encountered their first challenge. "Captain, patrol ships ahead," the sensor officer reported. "They're blocking our direct route to the Nexus." Pierce studied the tactical display. "Can we go around them?" "Not without adding significant time to our journey." Time they didn't have. The attack on Earth would begin soon if it hadn't already. "Prepare the disruptors," Pierce ordered. "We'll disable them quickly and continue before they can report our presence." The plan worked perfectly. The Intrepid dropped out of stealth just long enough to hit the patrol ships with disruptor pulses, then slipped past while the enemy vessels were rebooting their systems. On the 5th day, they reached the coordinates of the Nexus. What they found wasn't a planet or a space station, but something far more incredible. It's a constructed world," Dr. Grant whispered in awe. The Nexus was an enormous artificial sphere, about a quarter the size of Earth's moon. Its surface was covered with intricate patterns that glowed with inner light. The entire structure sat within a nebula that concealed it from casual observation. "Life signs?" Pierce asked. The sensor officer looked up in surprise. "Millions, sir, but they're unusual. Very low metabolic readings, almost like they're sleeping," Grant finished. "Just as we thought." Pierce made his decision. "Prepare a landing party. Dr. Grant, Lieutenant Walsh, Mr. Miller, you're with me. We need to find a way to wake these Archons up." The Intrepid approached the Nexus cautiously. An opening appeared in the surface as they drew near, as if the structure were inviting them in. "It's recognizing the Archon technology we incorporated into our ship," Miller explained. "It thinks we're supposed to be here." They landed inside a vast hangar. The air was breathable but had a strange, sweet smell, like nothing on Earth. Gravity was slightly less than Earth normal, making their movements feel light and easy. "Stay alert," Walsh warned as they exited the ship. "We don't know if there are automated defenses inside." They moved through enormous corridors, their footsteps echoing in the silence. The walls were covered with the same strange symbols they had found in the monitoring station on the distant planet where their journey began. "This way," Grant said, following the readings on her tablet. "I'm detecting the strongest life signs in this direction." After walking for what seemed like hours, they came to a massive chamber. Transparent pods lined the walls, stretching as far as they could see. Inside each pod was a figure. "The Archons," Grant whispered. The beings were humanoid but clearly alien. They stood nearly 7 feet tall with slender bodies and elongated heads. Their skin was pale blue, and they appeared to be sleeping peacefully. "Now what?" Walsh asked. "Do we just wake one up?" Miller examined one of the pods. "These are stasis chambers, designed to preserve life for incredibly long periods. There must be a central control system somewhere." They found it at the center of the chamber, a console similar to the one they had discovered in the monitoring station. Dr. Grant studied it carefully. "I think I can operate this," she said after several minutes. "But we should be selective about which Archon we awaken. According to the symbols, these pods contain ordinary citizens. We need to find a leader." It took another hour of searching before they found a section containing different pods. These were larger and more elaborate, with additional monitoring equipment attached. "These must be their leaders," Grant said. "The symbols here indicate positions of authority." Pierce pointed to one pod that stood slightly apart from the others. "What about this one?" Grant checked the symbols. I think that's their equivalent of an elder or wise one. Someone respected for their knowledge." "Perfect," Pierce decided. "Can you wake just this one?" Grant nodded and began working at the nearby console. Lights flashed in sequences, and a soft humming filled the air. The pod's transparent cover slid open with a hiss of escaping air. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Archon's eyes opened, 3 large golden orbs that blinked slowly as awareness returned. The being sat up gradually, its movements careful and deliberate. It looked at the humans with what seemed like curiosity rather than hostility. "Doctor," Grant stepped forward. Using the language she had pieced together from the alien transmissions, she attempted to communicate. "We come peace," she said haltingly. "Need talk." The Archon listened, head tilted slightly. Then, to everyone's surprise, it responded in perfect English. "I understand your language," it said, its voice melodious and calm. "My name is Viridian. I am an elder of the Archon people." It looked around at the sleeping pods. "How long have we slept?" "We don't know exactly," Pierce answered, "but based on our archaeological evidence, at least 10,000 years." Viridian seemed to absorb this information. "And the Armada? The defense system?" "It's attacking our world," Pierce said urgently. "It's destroying our colonies, killing our people. We came here to ask you to stop it." Viridian's golden eyes widened. The Armada was never meant to act independently for so long. It was designed to protect our space while we slept, yes, but always under supervision. After a century, caretakers were supposed to awaken and check its programming. Something must have gone wrong, Miller suggested. Indeed. Viridian rose from the pod, towering over the humans. Show me what has happened. They returned to the Due Intrepid and showed Viridian recordings of the Armada's attacks. The Archon watched in growing horror. This is not what we intended, it said finally. The Armada has corrupted its primary directives. It was meant to warn, to deter, not to destroy, developing civilizations without cause. Can you stop it? Carter asked simply. Viridian nodded. With access to the command codes, yes. I can reassert control over the entire fleet. As they prepared to leave the Nexus, they received an urgent transmission from Earth. The final attack had begun. Admiral Carter and Captain Wright were leading, humanity's remaining forces in a desperate last stand. We need to hurry, Pierce urged.